I don't know if I could keep doing this anymore. So, yesterday night I saw Venom The Last Dance. It is the third and final film in the Venom trilogy. And I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I think I'm tired of superhero movies. I don't know for how long I can keep maintaining this. I'm just exhausted. I feel like it's like apart from a couple hits, there's something about these movies that I'm done. I can't keep doing this anymore. So Venom: The Last Dance is part of Sony's Marvel Spider-Man universe without Spider-Man that includes films like Morbius and Madame Web. And each one of these films has been a stinker. I don't know why they keep making them. They're not even that profitable to be like from like looking at the numbers just from a pure monetary perspective. And they are probably the most pointless films in the history of movies. And I'm baffled at how they've managed to make five of them and six, counting Craven the Hunter, which comes out, I think, later this year. I'm not even going to bother with that, to be honest. But I'm going to here to talk about Venom because the final film already came out, and I have to say that I was a fan of the Venom movies when the second one, Let There Be Carnage, came out. I like that one, and that's why I want to talk about this movie. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over like a quick rundown of Venom: The Last Dance, point out all the things I hated from the movie because it's just not a good movie. I'm going to be honest with you guys. It was just terrible. But I feel like even a bad fun movie, like I'm not gonna say it was like a not enjoyable time. There's obviously a lot of jokes, like the typical Marvel jokes in the film, but there's so many things that I want to point out, and the way it just disappoints the audience, and it makes you realize that these movies are leading nowhere. And I don't know what the fuck Sony is doing, but it's baffling to me how they can maintain this universe for this long and not realize what the hell are we doing. It's also important to point out because I feel like they also tried the final route of desperation, which is uniting it with both the MCU, which is highly successful, like billion-dollar movies, and also the really, really good anomalies that were the Spider-Verse movies, which are just fantastic. They're trying to unite that through different characters, different scenes. And, I guess with the multiverse, everything can be done nowadays. So, the suits up there are probably saying like, hey, let's just connect it with the multiverse and then that will give us some good scenes. But yeah, anyways, I think this intro has gone long enough. Let's just get into the movie. So Venom: The Last Dance picks up right after Spider-Man No Way Home's post-credit scene where Venom and Eddie Brock are in Mexico. They escaped after they killed Carnage and they killed a couple characters in the last movie. And this is where the first error starts. So the movie picks up in the same exact spot as that post-credit scene in No Way Home, where they appear in the MCU for some reason, and like just like through the Doctor Strange spell or whatever, and they encounter Spider-Man in the TV report, and Venom says like, "I know that guy," and I was like, "Holy shit! They're finally gonna unite Tom Holland's version of Spider-Man with Venom." That was very exciting. And then in the No Way Home movie, we see Venom again in the post-credit scene. Oh, he's in a bar in Mexico. He asks about Thanos, about the Hulk, Iron Man. You're like, holy shit, this is going to set up so many cool things with this character in the MCU. Maybe as Sony came to their senses, they realized like this version of Venom, which I have to mention quickly that I think it's the second best version of Venom after the Spider-Man games version that came out last year. I think that one is probably the best, the most faithful, and the most badass version of Venom. I like this one way more than the 2007 version because of just like his bulkiness, and I feel like if they added the Spider-Man logo on his chest, he would have been perfect. But anyways, I feel like that scene just led to nowhere. They even retcon it in a way. In No Way Home, it was Doctor Strange's spell that brought him back to the original Sony universe, and in this one, it's a null portal. Like I'll go more into that later, but there's these portals that send these monster centophages throughout the universe, controlled by Null, which is the main villain of the third Venom movie. And that's what happens. Like he just returns for absolutely no explanation, no reason. He's just there. He returns to the exact same bar in his universe, which contains the same bartender with longer hair. So just so you know that it's in another universe. And I was like, yeah, okay, this is terrible. I don't know why they retconned that. Like even the small bit of Venom sludge that was left on the table counter that signaled that this symbiote is going to be in the MCU and possibly connect with Tom Holland's Spider-Man was important for a reason. And that did not end up happening because then we get Chiwetel Ejiofor's character, I hope I pronounced that right, but who also plays Mordo in the MCU, but we're not going to get into that. He like contains the Venom thing, it appears in the trailer, and that's what leads to the him capturing. But like that whole scene in No Way Home led to nothing. Nothing is ever gonna come out of that. The whole thing was pointless. I don't even know why they did it. The whole scene where he is in the Spider-Man hotel room and he sees him on the TV. Like I just it's just so bad because I expected so much of this character of Eddie Brock, and I don't know. I'm just disappointed.
Hey, maybe I should go to New York and speak to this Spider-Man.
Then we continue with the story. It's a pretty standard superhero road trip movie. He tries to get to New York because he wants to clear his name. He's on the run. You got these like soldiers looking for him, and then the Cenophage is also looking for him. Like, there's not really much story in the third one, and that's what I'm gonna get into because I think it's time to talk about Null. So Null is apparently one of the most powerful characters, villains in the Marvel Universe. So people were very hyped about the movie. They were showing the heck out of him in the trailers. He was basically put forward later, like saying, "Oh, this is gonna be a next level threat. He's gonna appear over the course of several movies." But oh my god, it's so boring the way they managed Null in this movie. It was just awful. Like, honestly, there's nothing that came out of Null in the movie. He just appears in the first scenes and then throughout the movie in just like several like CGI scenes. Like, you don't even get to see his face. He's played by Andy Serkis, but you don't see him like at all. He's just like giving these weird monologues like, "I am going to destroy the universe." And then he just sends like the Cenophages, which are these like basically nameless, personality-less monsters who just kill, and that's it. That's all they do. That's the main villain, really, in this movie, like these giant monsters. And you don't get to see any of Null. You don't get to see him like give any speeches, any really important dialogues. He's just like, it's kind of like stock character, I guess. Like, they did nothing with him in this movie, and it just does not make me hyped to see him in the future of the movies. Because let's be honest, this is a character that's just attached to Venom. And for me, seeing him in this way just makes me so not hyped to see him in the future. Like, who's he going to go against? Like, you're already setting a Spider-Man universe without Spider-Man, and then you have a Venom villain, which is Null, and you're gonna set him up in movies without Venom and then without Spider-Man. Like, how does that even work? Like, what is Sony doing here? Like, what is this all? How does Madame Web and Morbius connect into all this? Like, what are they even building to? Like, what is the purpose of these movies? And that's something I'm gonna get it later into when I talk about the trilogy as a whole. But I just felt like this entire thing was pointless. And that extends to the rest of the movie. Venom: The Last Dance just feels like one sequence to another, to another, to another. And there's not really anything like these characters that are just introduced with no purpose, including Rhys Ifans, I don't know how you pronounce it, who also plays Lizard in the other Spider-Man movie. We're not going to get into that, like this whole recycled actor thing. But it just like doesn't make any sense. And there was some scenes in the movie that is just like, oh, this is just meant for fun. The whole casino thing, the dance with Mrs. Chen, all this stuff already appears in the trailers. It's just like standard Marvel joke fest. I felt like watching the Looney Tunes at one point, and I thought it was just not good. It felt like the first movie in all the worst ways. But I feel we've gotten way worse movies like Shazam 2, so I'm not gonna get too critical of the film. But just story-wise, it's a mess. There's a couple redeeming qualities. I like Venom and Eddie Brock's relationship. I think that's always fun to see. I'm not saying it's bad. It's honestly the highlight of the movie. And that's something that continues throughout all the three films. It's just, I like the relationship. I like the back and forths they have. I think it was very amusing and humorous. They gotta have something like that because otherwise this movie would just be completely empty like Morbius or Madame Web. It just had absolutely nothing to it. But I honestly, like this, I also still have some anxiety from Eddie Brock's performance. Like the entire movie, Tom Hardy's just like acting in such a weird way. Also, like his character, I don't know, it's just so weird because they try to make him like this like unstable crazy guy, but it just comes off so off-putting. Like he's always like all sweaty and he's like, "Venom, what are we doing here? We need to go to New York, Venom." That's exactly how he talks. It's just like after a while it just gets annoying. And Venom is even like he's fun, but it's just not something that I would like to keep seeing for a couple more movies. I feel like that character could have had much more use as a side character in Spider-Man movies, but I don't know why they didn't do that from the get-go. It's, you know, I get like all the legal problems with Sony and Marvel and all that, but it would have been a great thing. So yeah, the third movie's not good, and I'm gonna spoil right now, so if you haven't watched the movie, you don't want to get it spoiled, click away. But basically, Venom dies at the end, so that makes you realize like there's not gonna be any more Venom in the future. There's a couple hints that he might come back. They're just like leaving that for the audience. For example, there's a cockroach at the end of the post-credit scene that has like a little bit of the symbiote still in it. So, you know, like in these movies, characters are never truly dead. So I don't know what they're gonna do about it. But I just thought for now, I'm so disappointed, especially with the null part. And I feel like that just extends to the whole trilogy. Just like this playing with the fans and oh, I feel like the whole multiverse thing they did with Marvel was just leaving it just in case. But because the suit said like, no, we're gonna focus on this our own universe, and these people are completely out of touch with what the fans want. They just left it like that. So yeah. Anyways, this whole trilogy just sucks from the very beginning. Like the whole plot, I feel like it didn't have really a strong villain. For example, in the first movie, the villain is just another symbiote that crashes into the Earth. There's this whole boring, you know, Eddie's on the run, and these like agents from this secret organization, this corporation, are like looking for him, and that extends into the third movie. They had a little bit more of that. I feel like the third one is just the first one, just rehashed all over again. Nothing new to the table. And the second one is the one I want to talk about more. Venom: Let There Be Carnage is actually a really good movie. And I say that, well, it's not like a masterpiece or anything. Like, honestly, these movies have the same kind of quality of writing. But the reason I say this is because I just absolutely love Carnage. I feel like Carnage is one of my favorite comic book characters. I would say like top 15, if not top 10. But seeing him in this movie played by Woody Harrelson was great. I love the character. I love his portrayal. Like this insane serial killer who just comes into contact with the symbiote who's like even more insane. I feel like that's so great. And it also makes me sad that we're never going to see this version of Carnage interact with Spider-Man, because at the end of the day, these are Spider-Man villains. These are characters that continue Spider-Man's story, that I feel like Carnage has a lot of interactions with Spider-Man in the comics. He gives him a lot of character development, so I'm sad we're never going to see that on the full screen. But it was nice to see a little bit of a glimpse of that. So I appreciate this second movie. I really enjoyed that. And I feel like if they continued that and just Sony accepting that they're never going to be as good as Marvel and just conceding the characters back to where they belong, that would have been a way, way better thing. But anyways, we're not going to get any of that. Nothing made any sense at the end. The whole MCU trip, like visiting Mexico through the MCU at the bar, and all that is it just leads to nowhere. So at the end of the day, what did I get from this movie? Absolutely nothing. There is nothing in this movie that I liked in that regard. There's nothing I expect from the future or Marvel. I'm not even going to go bother with Kraven the Hunter. And yeah, I've ranted for long enough. This movie sucks. I'm going to give it a 45 out of 100. Obviously, there's a lot of things that redeem it. It's not one of the worst superhero movies of all time. The Sony Marvel Universe, I don't think it's as cooked as DC has been over the last couple of years, especially with the way they handle importing characters. I feel like these Spider-Man villains, it's kind of low stakes. Even though I love Venom, I feel like they didn't ruin him as a character. I feel like Eddie Brock, this version of him with Tom Hardy, is good enough. But I don't know. This movie just sucks, man. I don't even know what to say anymore. Anyways, those are all my thoughts. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe. And we'll see you guys next time.